Hey guys, in this video I will show you how to build a simple to-do app using Django, Htmx and Tailwind. Before we start building it, I want to show you the design and functionality. So here we have it, a simple to-do app with the tasks and the actions for setting it to done and delete, and you can also create new tasks here, like that. So if I hit here, you'll see that it's green, which means that it's done, and I can also delete it, where I will get a confirm. So here we have the to-do list we're going to go through in this tutorial. So I can now set this to done because I showed you the demo and the introduction. Next I want to set up the design using Tailwind. So I created a new file called design.html just for testing now, and I added some basic HTML here. I've included the Tailwind CDN here, as you can see here, cdn.tailwindcss.com. This is Tailwind 3. And I also added the BG Sky 500 to the body. So if I open up this in the browser, you'll just see a blue background. And then the next step is to include this navigation bar, which just includes a title and a gradient overlay on the background. So if I go in here into the body, I can paste in some code I've already created. So this is a navigation with the class for flex and items center, just so that this element here is centered in the middle of it. And then I have some px4 to give spacings on the sides, py6 to get spacings on top and above, text center, and then the background gradient from cyan 500 to sky 500. And then I have the link to the front page for the to-do application. So if I save this now, go back, refresh, then you'll see that we have the title here, and that it is gradient overlay. And then below here I want to add this box. So below the navigation bar I create a new div with a width of 4/5 of the whole screen, and then I have some margin bottom and top here, and MX auto so it's centered on the screen, and some padding inside. And when it's large screen you have much more padding. The background is set to white and I have rounded corners. So I can just type some text in here to see this. So if I refresh now, you will see this white box. Great. So then we can continue by building or adding this form. So it's just a form with class flex and MB6, so I have some spacing below it, and then space x4. That is the spacing we have between here, these two elements, the button and the input field. So then I can also add the input field as well. So first element in the form is this one, which is an input type text. Name it title. It's a class title flex1, so it takes up most of the screen. px4 for spacing, py3 for spacing. Set the background to gray 200 and also a rounded corner. Also I've had a placeholder, the title, so you know what to fill in there. Now it looks like this. And then we just need the button there. So below this input field, this code for the button, I can just say plus in there. So it has some spacing all around the button inside. The rounded corner set to XL, text white, the background is cyan 500, and when you hover it, it goes a little bit darker. So let's save this now, refresh, and then you have the button here. Great. And then below this form I want to show the title, or this element, the title, and then the actions. So below the form, just paste some more code. Div class flex, so we have this next to each other. Then py3, so we have spacings above and below. And set the round corner to be rounded XL, and the background to be gray 100, which is a very light gray color. And then this element should take up 4/5 of this element, which has some spacing. Set the text to extra small and the font weight to be medium, and then it to be gray and uppercase. And then the same with this one. So if I save now, go back one more time, refresh, you'll see that we now have the title and then the actions. And then the last element to add is this one, which is the list of tasks with the actions here. So below this flex here, add a new div with divide y, which will give us a border below each of the elements in here. And now we set the divider to be gray 200. I set the ID to to-dos on this element because this should include a list of to-dos. Then I just want to add one static element here just for testing. So I can begin with the article class flex. And then first I want to show the title. So this should also take up most of the screen, just like the title up here. And some spacing above and below. And in here we have a paragraph with some spacings on the side. Set the text to be extra small and gray 500. If I look at this now, refresh, you'll see it here. Great. And then it's these two actions here. So below this div I had one more div with the width of 1/5, so it takes up the last of this one. Have some spacings on the sides and I set this to be flex so I can have spacing between the two buttons. And I want the buttons to be on the far right side of the element. And then add some space x-4 so I can space between the buttons as well. I can begin with the edit button. Just say edit for now. And then one more for delete. So here I have it to be sky 600, which is a dark blue. And when you hover it, it goes even darker. So save, refresh. Now you see here, it's edit and delete. Great. If you want to switch this out with icons, you can find free icons at heroicons.com. Here you can use SVG files. Great. So now we have the design finished and we can continue with the Django application. So if I go back to the to-do application, I can set this task to done. By the way, if you like this video and want more content like this, hit like and subscribe below to never miss a video from me. Then the next step is to create a new Django application. To save time, I have already created an empty Django project called Django Tailwind To-Do. So before you can continue, you need to create one yourself. If you don't know how, check out djangoproject.com. And then the next step now is to create a Django app for the to-dos. And to do that, I go to the command line and say Python manage.py start app to-do and hit enter. So now I have that, and I can go to the to-do list, set this to done. And then I need to create a Django view and test this. So I also open up the project here. And if I go into the Django Tailwind to do, I have the application here. And in here we have the views file for the view. If I open up this, just to remove this comment, then I create a new view called To-Dos. I just pass in the requests and then we return it to render and this template, todo/todos.html. And the content for this todos.html should be the same as in design.html. So if I just copy this and then create a new folder in here called templates and one more folder called to-do, and then in there one file called todos.html, and then paste everything there. So then I can just close this design.html and we are soon going to make this dynamic. So then before we can test this, I just need to open up the urls.py file and import the view here. So from todo.views import to-dos, and then I can append it at the top here. Path. So when you go to the front page, you want to open up the to-dos view. And then we just set the name attribute to to-dos and save. So then we can go to the command line again and say Python manage.py run server. And you can just ignore this for now. And if I open up this in the browser now, you will see that the template does not exist. We have created it, it's just that Django doesn't know where to look for it. So if I open up settings.py, we can append the to-do application in this list and save. So then I can refresh again. And now you will see that we are back here, but we are now on this route instead of opening it like this. So I can just close this and go back here. So then I can go to the to-do list again, set this to done. Before I continue, I just want to say thanks to my Patreons. If you too want to support me, you will find a link to my Patreon in the description below. Then the next step is to set up a database model to keep track of the to-dos in the database. So if I open up models.py, just remove this comment. Then we want a class called to-do pass in models.model. We want the title, just a simple char field, and then a boolean field called isDone, which is at default to false. So then I can save this, go to the command line, stop the web server, and say Python manage.py make migrations to create migration scripts, and then Python manage.py migrate. So now the database should be set up. Nice. So then we can go to the to-do list again and set this task to done. And then we want to create a view for adding tasks. We are going to add the task through this view, but we need a view to handle the post request. So first we can import a view decorator from Django. So here is it, from django.views.decorators.http import require HTTP methods, because this view should only support post requests. And we also need to import the to-do model we just created. So from .models import to-do. And then we can create the view at the bottom here. So we use the decorator by saying @require HTTP method, create a tuple with a list, and then here we say post. And then the view can be called add_to_do, where you just pass in the request. And then we don't need to test or check if it is a post request, because if not, you will just get a method not allowed. So we can here set to-do equals none. Then we can get the title from the form by saying title equals request.post.get, and then title I set the default to be empty. And then we can check that if title, that we know that the user filled out the title field. Then we can say to-do equals to-do.objects.create, set title equals title. And then the isDone will just be set default to false. Return, render, request, and then the template file for showing one single to-do, which we will create soon. So to-do /partials/todo.html. Then we can pass in the to-do, so that we can use it in the front end, like that. And then we can go to the urls.py file and import this view. So append it at the top there, and then below here we can say path add-to-do/. Then we use this view and set the name to add-to-do as well. And save. And then I just want to take the code from todos.html, this article here, just cut it out from there, create a new folder called partials, and then in there a new file called todo.html, and then paste it. Then we're going to use Htmx to pass this into the list. So if I save now and go back, you will probably not see much. Okay, I haven't run the server again. Refresh. And now we don't see the task there yet, but we will fix that soon. But we can now go back to the to-do list, set this task to done. Then we want to change the form a little bit for handling the adding tasks, which we are going to use Htmx for. So if I open up todos.html again, we can include the CDN for Htmx, like that. I will add these links in the description below. So then we just need to change this form a little bit. If I add this to a separate line, which will make it a little bit cleaner. And then when we post or click this button, we want to create a post request to the add-to-do view we just created. And to do that, we say hx-post/add/to-do/. And then when we get the data back from the server, we want to append it into this element. So then we do h-. So then we say hx-target to say which element to paste it into, #todos, which is this one. And instead of swapping out all of the content here, we want to append the element at the end. And to do that, you say hx-swap and after end. So after the end, we append this. So this will generate one of the partials files in here. And I know that this will fail now because Django requires us to use the CSRF token, so we just need to add a little script down here to handle this for us. So first we can add the empty script tag, and then in here I add this document add, now document.body add event listener, and when this is run or when we post it, it adds this to the headers of the request. So here you can see this as we usually add in the form. So if I now save, everything should hopefully work. I can open up the inspector just to see if we get any errors. If I refresh now, test to do, plus. So then we got this back from the server. Perfect. So then I can go back to the to-do list again and set the task to done. And then we want to get all of the tasks from the database and show them. Because if I now refresh, the tasks is gone. So if I now open up views.py again, and in this to-dos view, we can get all of to-dos by saying to-dos equals to-do.objects.all, and then we just append it here into the context, to-dos, and save. And then we just need to open up the template and loop through and show them there. So in here, we say for to do in to-dos. Then we just want to use the partials file we created. So include to do /partials /todo.html. And then we can close the for loop and for. So if I now refresh, you will see the to-do we added, and if we add one more, it will be appended at the bottom. Perfect. But there is one issue, as you can see here, we just use a hard-coded title, so we can change that before we continue. Replace this one with todo.title and save. So if I now refresh, you will see the actual titles of the to-do we created. So then I can go back to the to-do list, set this to done, and then I want to reset the form when we submit one to-do. So inside the todos.html, we need to add one more event listener, and it looks like this. So after the request is done, we want to use JavaScript and the query selector to find the input title field and just set the value to be empty. So we can test this now by refreshing. Add to do plus, and then it was reset. Great. So let's go back to the to-do list one more time, set this to done, and then I want to mark tasks as done when we click this button. So this should not say edit, it should say done. So if I open up the to-do there, set this to done, then I want to change this here. But first we can fix the back end. So in the views.py, I want to create a new view that require HTTP methods. This should require a put method and not a post, because we are putting or patching the to-do. So put def update to-do, pass in the request, and also a PK, which is the primary key for the task. So first we can get this from the database by saying to-do equals to-do.objects.get, pk equals pk. And then we set to-do.isDone equals true, and to-do.save. So now it should be updated in the backend. And now we can also return this back to the front end again by copying this line, like that, and save. And then I just want to import this to the URLs file. So I import it at there. Oops. Update and up to the date. Like that. I can just copy this, paste it, and say update. And then here we need to specify that we're using an integer called primary key. So we know which to do to actually update. And we can replace this too. like that. So now everything in the back end for the updating is done, and we can move to the front end again. So if I go back here now, at the top I want to add a new form element. Form hx-put. So we want to put to this address /update/ and now we can pass in todo.id. Remember to add the slash there. hx target. So when we get back information from the server, which is this partial file, we want to replace all of this with that information. So this just this and hx-swap outer HTML, which will replace the whole file. And then, and then I want to close the form below here, like that. And I want to replace this link with a button. So button, can remove the href. And button. And I only want to show this if the to-do is not set to done already. So here we can say, if not, to-do.is done. If not, it will not render this button. And if, and save. So now I can refresh. And then I should be able to click this to set it to done. And then the button is gone. Perfect. And I also want this to be green if the task is done. So I can go back here. And here up we set this to flex. We can check the same thing here. If to-do.is done, then we say bg green 50, which is very light green color. And if save, refresh again, and now this is green. So if I now go back to the to-do list, I can set this to done. And then the last task is to make it possible to delete a task. So if I again go to the views.py, I can copy this. But here we will only accept delete requests from the front end. Delete. And then we can here say def delete to do. And we can copy this. And we can also get the to do from the server or the database. But instead of updating here, we say to do.delete. And then we just want to return an empty HTTP response because we don't need anything from the server here. So return HTTP response. And remember these braces there. So we need to import this as well, like you see up here, from django.http.response import HTTP response. And then we can import this to the URLs file, like that. And just copy this and say delete. And then use this view and this name and save. So then I just want to change the front end again. And then I want to update this button. So I can move these to separate lines. This should make it a little bit cleaner. So the href can just stay to this and the classes as well. So here is a hx-target, which target we're going to remove, closest form. So now it will find this form here and remove it from the DOM. hx-swap should be set to outer HTML because we want to remove all of it. Swap 1 second. So the whole operation takes 1 second. And then hx-delete, which URL we're going to post to with this request format. Delete /todo.id. And then we can save this and test. So refresh. Then I can click delete, wait 1 second, and then it's out of the list. Great. So the last thing I then want to add now is a little confirmation and also an animation when this deletes. We can begin with the styling for the animation. Just add this up here. Style. And this class Htmx swapping is added by Htmx automatically. We just want to set it to opacity 0 and that it takes 1 second. And then to add the confirmation, we just need to add one line here. hx-confirm. Are you sure? Like that. If I refresh now, I should get a confirmation here. Okay, and then it was removed. Nice. And that was it for this tutorial. I hope you liked it, and if you did, please click like below. If you want more content like this, please subscribe to my channel. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment below and answer as soon as I can.